Hello and good morning, the three of you. How are you doing today?
We're great. Good morning.
I got to tell you, I'm so proud of you for doing exactly what you're doing, because you are lifting the game of podcasting, because for so many years, it's always been that hobby. But you have realized that it can be a part of our lives and it can change our communities. And that just warms my soul.
That's awesome. Thanks, Arrow.
To put it all together, though, because you're taking chances, because you know you've got to be hitting those walls where people say, no, no, no. What are you doing again? Oh, okay, come back to me when you have a better idea.
Yes. No, this is a really important podcast. I am so proud to be a part of it. Yeah.
Now, to bring it all together, because it's such a global phenomenon inside my heart. How do you include everybody? That to me is the magic of the Happiness Lab.
Yeah, I think this is
everybody wants to be happy, right?
Right.
Yeah.
As Grover points out, it's easy because there's so many people are really struggling with their well-being now, right? And I think this is one of the reasons that we were so excited for this partnership with Sesame Street. Often on the Happiness Lab, we're thinking about strategies that adults can use to feel better, to feel less stressed, to feel overwhelmed. But these days, we're realizing that we need to start extending those strategies to children too. We need to start thinking about the kinds of things that kids can be doing to feel better. And in partnering up with RoseMarie, what we realized was that there's so many really simple strategies that we can teach to adults, but they're also the same kinds of things that even a 3-year-old can do too. Right, RoseMarie? These are the kinds of things.
What are some of those strategies?
Right. So when children are overwhelmed by their big feelings, one of the first things we want to do is to do deep belly breathing, right?
Oh, yeah, I'm good at that.
Okay, let's all do it together. So we're going to slowly breathe in through our nose.
And out our elbows.
And you want to repeat this a couple of times because we want children to actually have their feelings calm down a bit. So then we can talk about what they're feeling, right? We want to give children their emotional vocabulary, right? So, Grover, sometimes you're...
Yeah, I like to label my emotions.
Right.
I write them down on Post-it notes, and then I stick them on there.
Right. And once you have the word, like, I'm feeling afraid, or I'm nervous.
You're nervous?
I'm frustrated.
You're nervous.
You should not be hitting me.
No, I put the Post-it note on there.
Oh, you put a Post-it.
But then I can take it off. See?
There you go.
And now you are not nervous anymore.
Right. But once we have that label, it's the first step for building emotional well-being. Mm-hmm. And then we have these strategies. Belly breathing, and sometimes you want to move your body and move it out, or you want to shift your attention, and we use our 5 senses, right, Dr. Santos? And what 5 things do we see? What 4 things do we hear? What 3 things can we smell, right?
Yeah.
And by then, it gives you an opportunity to be with that emotion, and then you could move on. As Dr. Santos tells us, emotions come and go.
Mm-hmm.
It's interesting that you bring that up, because one of the things that I really talk a lot about on iHeartRadio is transitions, learning to understand our personal transitions. And I'm in love with the idea that you're inviting them to write, because I've been a daily writer for 29 years. You have won my soul. You really have.
Yeah, with adults, we talk a lot about journaling practices, right? Just simple ways you can kind of talk through what's happening. It's trickier for a 3-year-old, but of course we can teach 3-year-olds to use their own words. They might not be writing these things down, but they can label what they're going through. And there's so much evidence. The simple act of labeling allows us to realize, oh, I kind of understand what this is. And then once we have a label, we can figure out a strategy to deal with that, right? If we're feeling sad, we might be able to talk to somebody. If we're feeling disappointed, we might be able to look towards blessings. If we're feeling kind of anxious or scared or overwhelmed, we might be able to get back into our senses. And so kind of writing, or even if you're a kid, just labeling can kind of get you to the point where you can figure out what to do with that emotion. So you're not kind of suppressing it, but you're taking some action to make yourself feel better.
Yeah, and I remember when I was little, my mommy and daddy helped me. Because I did not know sometimes what I was feeling. Right. And they helped me understand that I was maybe sad or I was frustrated.
Yeah. And that's so important for the adults in children's lives to understand these practices and to model these practices and to practice with their children, right? Because we're laying these foundational skills, and these are lifelong skills, right? Mm-hmm. Everybody needs these mindfulness activities to help them be with their emotions.
Mm-hmm. You should talk to Big Bird.
Yeah.
He's got the biggest.
the releasing of this podcast, The Happiness Lab, is coming at a great time because a study that just came out this past week that openly admits that millennials are having a tough time just identifying their emotions. So the fact that they can go to this one little area in the privacy of their car or their office and listen to it. You don't have to be a small child. It's for everybody. And that's what I want listeners to know.
Yeah, and I think this is really important. One of the things that I hear so often is that, parents who listen to this stuff, even when the podcast is about kids and helping kids label emotions, parents are reminded, like, that's a great thing for me too. Mm-hmm. The teenager in the car who's listening to this and realizing, like, oh, there's a difference between being disappointed and being overwhelmed. And understanding that difference might be really critical for figuring out what to do next to feel better.
Parents need the language, right? They need to know how to deal with this. Is a pain point for parents when their children are overwhelmed by their emotions. Parents don't necessarily know what to do, what to say. And in this podcast, we are providing the script, so to speak, for parents. We're giving them the words. We're giving them the language. But most importantly, we're giving them the strategies, the how-tos to help their children.
Yeah. Wow. Yeah.
There's got to be a place where families can go beyond the podcast, because I realize it's a 3-part series. I mean, when they start starving for that 4th part, there's got to be a website where they can go to grow more.
Yes, and Sesame has, Sesame Workshop's mission is to help kids grow smarter, stronger, and kinder. And the stronger is about building resiliency skills. And so at Sesame.org is a wonderful website for parents to learn more about these wonderful materials that we put together. Yes, we have a website.
because in my free time, sometimes I do web design.
Oh, well, yeah. You have to help us out. You absolutely have to help us out with
that. Okay.
Well, your hearts are in the right place, and I want to continue on with this conversation.
Absolutely.
Excellent. Will you guys be brilliant today, okay?
Thank you so much. Thanks, Arrow. Talk to you soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.